Extra.
Yes, konnichiwa, and welcome to another episode of Kawaii-Fi Radio, and this one's a bit of a shorter one because it's me and Kenny, and it's Valentine's Day.
I turned my headphones up too loud.
Is that any better, good sir?
Slightly better.
Yeah. So, yes, it is Valentine's Day. We are recording on Monday, day of release, because
Instead of being out with our significant others.
No, I'll do that later.
Yeah.
But we were going to record over the weekend, and, well, for starters, I had that video to make, and it was just so busy. We've all been just so flat tack as of late. I know everyone has been.
Adulting is hard, man.
Adulting
Making
is
time
really
to actually
hard.
just do the stuff with the money you make is actually very tricky.
It is.
They don't teach you about this stuff in school.
Yeah, and COVID. Hey, I don't want to go to that massively crowded place.
Yeah.
Fair. Don't get me wrong. Don't live in fear, but at the same time, take precautions which you need for your health. And I literally can't afford to have a lung infection or damage because this is my moneymaker. Without it, I'm just like I'll have to go back to retail.
Breathing.
Breathing
stuff.
Pretty important. But we decided we were going to do an episode about something romance related, but we weren't quite sure what to do.
So you suggested Steam Boy at first?
I did, which is not a good romance at all. And I think we will have to do an episode on that because Steam Boy is a classic which I think's been forgotten.
Oh, pretty much.
And it was so good at the time, and it still stands up today, funnily enough. But we were talking about it, and we're like, we do love Makoto Shinkai.
And he consistently writes love stories. I believe now I have identified his type.
Yeah.
He needs stuff with the changing of the seasons, a lot of rain, and something about a young man saving a mystical princess of a sort.
Yeah, it does have that whole hero vibe. And we've talked about doing Weathering With You, which we've already covered on this podcast, so go back and have a listen to that if you'd like. We've talked about Your Name as well when we were talking about Makoto Shinkai, and along with his first feature film, that short, I think it was about 20-minute one, the sci-fi one.
Yeah, that's right. What was the title again?
Oh, brain's completely lost it.
5 centimeter? No, that was the later one.
No, that was much later. But yeah, look,
Distant Star. Voices of a Distant
Star. Also beautiful and worth checking out. It is very rough.
He made that with a little crappy computer by his lonesome.
I know, which explains why he has that,
his whole personal drive where he is personally involved in everything. Even if he is given a whole team by a studio, he's involved more than they are.
Yeah, which is insane. But we decided that it would be worth checking out one of the films that is, I guess, I'm surprised I hadn't watched it, and it's not full length. It only goes for 45 minutes, and it was from 2013. It was Garden of Words.
Yeah, available on streaming as well. You can find it on a lot of places. Netflix
have it for us. I believe it's on Amazon Prime in some areas too. I believe even if it's not on streaming, you can buy it on Amazon Prime for a couple of bucks.
And this was before Your Name. This was before he was really, really big, but he was still known for his work with his other short films.
I mean, this is the thing. Makoto Shinkai did a lot of stuff with other people. And Comics Wave Films have been a support studio for a lot of other films, particularly for weather, unsurprisingly.
He cracked the whip on these guys for this movie.
Oh, he really did.
Because
holy cow.
Oh my God, from the first shot of just seeing these perfectly artistically rendered raindrops on a still pond. The way he just captures light with this in this beautiful green space. I'm pretty sure photorealistic of an actual...
Oh, it is, isn't it? So the funny thing is as well that this, it has a manga attached to it.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
The manga, I'm pretty sure, was made after the film, by the looks of it. So I've got the film came out April 28,
we should actually say the title, shouldn't we?
I did, didn't I? The Garden of Words? The Garden of Words.
We're making sure. It's called The Garden of Words.
Hang on, have I got a...
Hey, listen!
It's The Garden of Words. This is a drama romance as fitting for Valentine's Day. Runs for about 45 minutes. It's demographic sign-in, so it is aimed at the 18-plus male audience, which is I'll be honest, being, in my 30s makes sense. It's definitely more my target demographic, and as me and Aaron have been discussing, like Aaron typically prefers the shonen genre stuff, and I definitely prefer the seinen, which gives us a nice sort of range for the male demographic. I also do quite like a lot of the josei as well, which is the older female one, which some of the stories are beautiful.
Yeah.
But it has got a manga and a serial novel, like a proper book written for it that are based on the screenplay. So the screenplay is original and it was written by Shinkai. Now, this... I'll just bring up the plot. I think it's easier just to explain it that way. And for anyone else who's got a Pixel 6, I'm sure your phone's been locking up too. The updates have been awful. So... the plot's quite simple. When a lonely teenager decides to miss his morning lessons in favour of sitting in a garden with the rain, he meets a mysterious older woman who shares his feelings of alienation. Now, what this doesn't explain, they say older woman, and they keep saying older woman in this, and she's not that much older. She's in her 20s.
Yeah, she's 20.
Man, am I a grandpa?
She's 27, I think. He's 17 or so.
I think he said 15.
Ah.
I think he's still in high school. Yeah, but it's an age gap romance in a way, but it's not. I think it's handled really beautifully. I mean, let's be honest. Most of Shinkai handles relationships very beautifully. It's not.
It's the whole thing
creepy.
That it is handling a taboo subject. The whole she is revealed to be.
I don't think we'll say that, but there's an age gap, and she's in a position of authority. Is probably the easiest way to explain it.
Which, even so, by itself, is somewhat a taboo in Japanese culture, I believe.
Yeah. The
whole thing, though, is that they are more together to sort of share the feeling of loneliness that they both have.
Because he's you think initially he's an artist. But he's drawing designs for shoes. Yeah,
Takao is his whole thing is that he wants to make shoes, and that is not like
It's not really a normal sort of teenage thing to think of for a guy, at least.
And it's not typical of the kind of thing that people want to chase in, like, Japanese business culture. People normally go for, like, your white-collar job.
Yeah, salaryman style.
The kind of stuff that will guarantee you, a comfortable life.
Because this is setting the Kanto region. It's basically, it's set in Shinjuku, but not. And there's even a message at the end as well, because one of the characters is drinking or smoking in a park and all that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, like in the post-credits, it's just like...
So you've got the post-credit, the post-credit scene, and then a warning, do not drink in this park.
Like, look, we understand this was in an actual place, but you are not allowed to do this. We were just doing this for the film. But the animated characters had the rights. They had the permit.
Yeah, they had a permit to do it. But, I mean... What I thought was interesting is that I wonder if this was the first film where he went so hard on the weather effects.
Ooh, he was definitely like pushing it with each of the other ones. I mean, rain is just a constant theme. The changing of the seasons is always like almost another character in his films.
Oh, absolutely! Like it's a very big important part of it, and he loves that weather.
And it's a part of the story as well. They will only ever really meet when it's raining. And sort of like the building of their like trust and understanding of one another comes because the like wet season begins in Japan, and so they are consistently together in this park.
Man, I was just having a look at this. So he wrote in the same year. There's always also a film called Someone's Gaze, which wasn't done by Comics Films. This was done by a short film. Before that, Children Who Chase Lost Voices, 5 centimeters per second, and The Place Promised in Our Early Days. Now, unsurprisingly, he did the storyboards, art direction, design, themes for all of these. Photography, color design, and editing for Garden of Words, which it tends to be the main things he's listed for.
And the color design. There is something very special about this movie. Is that the use of lines. I mean, his grasp on color is always just fantastic, but phenomenal. He uses different colors for the lines when it's catching like sunlight or reflections off the water. Instead of just black outline over all your characters, instead of just like the nice, neat, crisp black lines, he'll go with like aqua green. Yeah. Or like bright white yellow.
Yeah, to kind of show that reflective nature, like, if they're damp, like you if a person has been drenched by the rain, their outline is not going to dampen the color. It will reflect it and refract the light. And he takes that into effect for all the outlines whenever something's wet.
But it's not constant. It's not even consistent. It only seems to play out like mostly
in the garden.
In the park where they meet. And I'm starting to think there is something to that. Like,
well, it does kind of give it a sort of like dream state. And they do state throughout
it makes
the
it
film
seem
that
more colourful and more alive than the actual world. And even in the scenes where he is playing with, like, you know, sunlight, when it's in summer, when because what's her name, Yukari, she visits the park in the summer just hoping to meet him, and the sunlight is almost harsh. It's unbearable even.
So
and even in bits where like stuff is well lit, if it's not in the rain, it's that part will be lit, but you also see the shadows around it. It's there's the element of darkness to things.
One of the things I actually really like about it, so you've got two characters and their names are not revealed until much later in the film. Like
practically nothing about them is revealed until much later.
So it goes for about 45 minutes and a lot of it doesn't get revealed until the 30-minute mark. And then a lot of stuff sort of comes to a head over that following 10 minutes. But he uses different art styles for different locations. So the woman's house, everything's watercolored.
Yeah, Yukari's apartment almost seems...
Yukino.
Sorry?
Yukino. But yeah, it's watercolored with harsh lines to differentiate stuff.
Yeah, it almost seemed like less real. And I think the whole thing about that is that their life seems more in focus when they are in that spot together.
Well, I was going to say not only that, because this does kind of, you know, deal with, you know, depression and sadness and isolationism. And there's a lot of artwork I've seen which is meant to, you know, exhibit or connect with the feeling of feeling depressed, and it's always done in watercolor. And also same sort of thing as we saw it with her room. It's, you know, it's blues, it's grays, it's washed out. And I think that also kind of connects with her personality feeling washed out and drained.
But you also see it later in the film as well, and it's all in focus. There is basically, if you are like a major literary or film geek,
symbolism, holy cow.
Catching all the little bits of symbolism in this and all of the, what is the artist trying to say? Oh, this will be your joint.
Yeah. I mean, this is a case where he is using it to say something. It's not, you know, the door is blue. What did he mean when the door is blue? He was depressed and sad. No, the door was blue. I like blue. Like, it's really well done. And I think as well, like, without spoiling anything, there is a bit of a focus on feet in this. Now, it's not foot fetishy.
What is it with this year?
This year and feet. No, it's because the male lead is, as we mentioned, interested in making shoes. So there is a focus on feet because he's learning to design how you would create a shoe.
And even that, I believe, is also symbolism. It's about moving forward. It's about walking on your own. And so, of course, there's going to be that thematic element.
Yeah. And
I don't think it's so blatant and base as just feet.
Look, it's not Akiba sailor's uniform. So
oh my god, that show!
No, I made me so uncomfortable.
You saw the Giguk video, yeah?
Yes, I did. Oh my god,
his reaction was just priceless.
Yeah. But look, I mean, this is a age gap love story, but it doesn't end with a romantic embrace or a kiss. It handles it in a very mature way, I feel. Like the way you would expect, like, okay, we care about one another. Is it love? The older person's not sure. The younger person thinks it is. And you see how they handle that.
The post-credits scene, I think, sums it up
perfectly,
quite beautifully. Like, the story continues, but not in such a blatant way.
I mean, this is the thing as well, like, Japan loves its open endings. We've discussed this many times on the podcast. It loves committing to things because there is no such thing as happily ever after. Like, that idea kind of doesn't work.
It's how to put a nice bit of closure and conclusion on a scene.
Look at how he finished Your Name.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, same sort of thing. You can guess what's going to occur from there. You don't need it to be spelled out, which is beautiful.
Oh, and it's way more ambiguous in Weathering with You as well.
Oh yeah, that's. I loved that. A lot of people didn't like Weathering With You, but that's because they were trying to compare it to Your Name.
I mean, it's a hard act to follow.
It's a very hard act to follow, but I loved Weathering With You. Just visually, absolutely stunning. I felt even the character designs were consistently better than Your Name, and that's not to say Your Names were bad. Your Names were like if you say Your Name was a 9 out of 10, like Weathering With You's character designs would be a 9.5, but the story instead of being a 9 would be closer to like a 7.5.
8.
8, yeah.
Oh, but
I still liked it. I loved it, actually.
And like musically, for both of those, they're perfect. And that also carries across to returning to the subject and jumping right off the tangent. Garden of Words.
Well, Garden of Words has this beautiful piano, like
it's
classical, understated piano tune throughout
It's orchestral, but it's also not present consistently again.
Mm-hmm.
It's that most of the time you're just hearing the sounds of the rain and nature and birds and stuff like that. The orchestra stuff mostly comes in when you're getting like internal monologues and stuff.
Which is really nice. Like it uses a lot of... I know I've mentioned this before about a few things, but I love seeing cinematic camera language used in animation.
I mean, yeah, we go along all the time saying, oh, the camera angles, there's no camera. The camera, how the camera moves here, the camera isn't moving.
I love how they've pulled focus. Wait, they don't need to do that.
There was a fantastic meme earlier, like about Demon Slayer showing like the show. The cameraman is Saitama just dashing along at the speed of...
I mean, that'd be about right. But I think this is one of those things that we're going to continue to talk about because, like, I mean... Look, a lot of people I've heard talk about anime, and this is not to discredit anyone or anything like that, but a lot of people who talk about anime just talk about, like, you know, the characters they like or the story. But I think we need to be starting to look at how incredible this artwork is. Like, sure, it's beautiful, but we need to be paying credit to the fact that, holy cow, like, they're using, you know, sure, it's not pen and paper anymore and it's not using the old cells, but they're still taking something that's drawn and applying cinematic camera usage to it.
There is an entire second story being told if you learn the language of what the camera is trying to say to you.
Exactly. And that, I mean, you and I both studied film at one point or another.
I thought I wasn't allowed to talk about that.
I could say it.
Right.
For me, it was over a decade ago, my God. But one of the big things they told us and taught us when they were doing those filmmaking classes was how to use the way the camera frames the scene. So both the framing, the use of the focal points, the empty space, you know, negative space is the correct term, and many other aspects to help create a feel to it. And like... this is completely unrelated, but I was watching, so for the video I did that came out a couple of days ago was good recommendations for Valentine's Day. So
spoiler alert, his recommendations are right behind him in the opening bit.
Well, actually you say that, but nothing that I recommend...
3 out of 4. What?
Only one of the things I recommend is behind me. Komi Can't Communicate is mentioned at the end credits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the other ones are. But anyway, I mentioned Wotakoi in this video, and the confession scene where the main guy asks the girl out, when he's talking to her, he's unusually to the far right of the camera, and there's all this dead space behind him. And that has the power to give weight to words because it suggests there is more being told than what is being said. There is more being suggested and implied and given than what is being just verbally said.
I mean, anyone who's ever asked out a girl is going to know that, like, it feels like standing on the edge of a cliff. It feels like standing in empty space. Everything just feels much further away when you like go to utter those words.
Yeah, and you see the exact same thing in Garden of Words. It's the same thing where there's a lot of... They use that negative space. They use, you know, close-up angles. They use low angles to make someone look empowering. They use high-up angles to make someone feel like they're shrinking and small. And it's beautifully used for something that's drawn. I love this.
This is the stuff we made the podcast for.
This is why we did this, yeah.
Because we'd always like watch a show, watch a movie, and then just talk for ages about what the hell we just saw.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's so much to take in. I mean, this is 45 minutes. It's 2 anime episodes. Like, if you're looking for a nice little tale for Valentine's Day. Geez, this is great. 45 minutes done and dusted. Obviously, if you and your partner are both in anime and haven't seen Your Name, go watch that first.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow. But, even if you're just like on your own, like say you just really want to watch something romantic, and doesn't matter if you've got someone with you to watch it or on your own, this just... I don't know. I came away from it feeling hopeful. Like, despite the heavy things, especially that final confrontation, like it's brutal. It's very un-Japanese, if I'm honest. Oh
yeah, the way the characters are talking to each other in the dub and the sub.
So the dub and the sub are very similar.
They say the same things, but in a different way.
Well, I mean, so I wrote it down so I didn't forget it. So the language used is similar in both, but the intonation and some words are changed from the subtitles to the dub. For the subtitle, so the English dub feels like he's blaming her, but the Japanese dub is he's blaming himself for allowing himself to feel betrayed. And that's a very important difference. So my suggestion is if you get the dub, and the dub's okay. I feel like I like it too, but I feel like they could have done more to differentiate the aging of the voices. Like, he's 15 to 17, she's 27. Like, his voice shouldn't sound like a 30-year-old man. It shouldn't sound like me, So I think...
Good thing it didn't sound like you.
No. But, that's something like... The dub is good. Like, it's well acted, especially her voice actor. Like, holy cow. But I feel like for the lead male's voice, it needed to be a little bit more youthful.
Perhaps, yeah.
Just a smidge. I mean, admittedly, I didn't realize he was a high school student when I first started watching it. I thought he was university because of how old he looked. Like, my partner works at school. I see what kids look like at their different ages, so I'm used to seeing, like, you don't look like that.
To be fair, the Japanese have that, like, really bloody just infuriating immortality gene.
I mean, there's that too.
Which just makes them look fantastic for many, many years until they hit, like, 70.
And then suddenly you go...
Where did the moisture go?
Exactly.
So I can,
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think I don't think it's a bad dub. Like, we've seen much worse dubs, but I think there's
a challenge. The worst dub.
Oh man, it's the worst, but it's also the best, and it's ghost stories. Like, they didn't follow the script. But we should do an episode on that. Holy cow, we need to do an episode on that. But I think like the dub could have been handled a bit more subtly. I think when they've been translating it, they've taken the brute force English approach instead of leaving nuance in there to make sure nothing's left up to interpretation.
I think that's also a cultural thing, though.
Yeah.
If when you're changing that to a dub, you're also like marketing to a different audience. And the Western audience, like, I'm not like disparaging anything, it's like a different style of
storytelling, yeah.
What are words? It's Western stuff is a bit more direct, I'd say.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, that's not to say that you shouldn't watch the dub. I've watched it in the dub and it's really good. But my suggestion is if you've got a dubbed version which also has the Japanese tracks and the subtitles, I'd suggest after you finish the film, go back to that 40-minute point and just rewatch that confrontation in the stairwell again. And then you'll see with the subtitles how it's different.
I think we're just veering into the sub versus dub debate, the war of ages.
Look, they're both good, and they're both going to have different interpretations. I mean, I personally prefer the fan sub of Komi Can't Communicate over the official translation by Viz.
So you're not picking a side then? You're not picking a side in the Great War?
No.
Of sub versus dub?
No, because some, like, Kaguya-sama Love is War. Have you watched the dub of Kaguya-sama Love is War?
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Just wonderful. But I can't say the same for some of the others.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of like, I think dubs have a place. They always will have a place. And it's, especially when they're done good. Like, I mean, I will tout for days the original ADV team for Neon Genesis. Just perfect. They, even if most of them aren't even voice actors now, like half of them are doing other stuff on the side.
Then everything changed when the Netflix nation attacked.
Exactly. And the Netflix dub, awful. But, and that's not just from like a voice acting point of view. Like the voice acting was, but the issue I had with the Netflix dub is they changed the translation.
And not only that, but the ending as well.
Well, I was fine with the original Neon Genesis.
I was not.
Yeah, look. I mean,
no, the original. The original one was "Fly Me to the Moon," and then they replaced that with just some.
Oh no! I thought you meant the ending of the series.
Oh no,
no, yeah, they replaced the ending. But anyway, we've digressed well and truly away from it. But yeah, I think we will always argue about the dub versus sub, and I think dubs are going to be better if you straight up if you have no cultural background or understanding of Japanese culture. Dub is going to always serve you well. It will over-explain everything. And I think for those of us who are heavily invested in the anime and manga industry, for those of us who speak Japanese or have learned or studied the culture, it will be a little frustrating because we don't like to be retold things we know every time. Like, have you looked at some of the old Marvel comics?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Every chapter, Avengers has to tell you who the Avengers are, why they were founded. X-Men, every new volume, they have to tell you who the X-Men are, why they were founded, who leads them. And it's because they're basing it on that idea of someone just jumping in.
Yes, it's like someone's going to jump in, someone's going to be new to this at some point.
Yeah.
And asking them to go right back to the start for context is going to be unfair.
Yeah, and that's, I think, exactly why Komi Can't Communicate's anime doesn't explain the puns in the names.
Right.
Because you've got to explain 3 writing systems to get to that. And sure, I did that in 10 minutes in a video, but they're not going to spend 10 minutes of an episode explaining it. They'd rather show you the anime and the story, which is, let's be honest, the story is the most important point. That needs to be center of any equation, just like they did with this. The story was central. I love when they can use something other than words to tell the story, reactions
maybe there's something to that too, how he was saying that the film language is telling a completely second story. I think it's the cultural background of whatever you're watching is also telling yet another story. It's stories within stories within stories.
It is.
There's always more to see in what you're watching, except if it's Disney Star Wars.
Well, I was going to say this is another thing here. We say it's telling another story. Culturally, if you watch this film, you don't know that if you're over 25, you'll consider a used woman if you're not married.
Yeah,
I know. It's awful. 25 to 28 is kind of the area where, if a woman in Japan isn't married, they're considered, and it's so horrible.
Yeah,
they say they're past their use by date, which is bull. Because the idea is that by 25, you get married, you have kids, you start your family.
The whole societal expectation.
Very patriarchal society. And, don't get me wrong, I hate that. There are a lot of things wrong with Japan.
There is still subtext like that in, hell, here. I think it's pretty much the case for, women at 30 or so, is that society has expectations.
Well, everyone keeps going, have you had kids?
Have you figured out your, career and stuff like that?
I mean, admittedly, we get the same thing for guys with the career stuff. Do you know what you're doing with life? No, I haven't a clue. I'm making anime videos. They're like, are you 12? Yes. Inside, I haven't let that young part of me go. But
hey, if I'm 12 on the inside, then I'll live longer than them.
Yeah.
By at least a couple of decades.
Well, I've kept my hair. That's a win. So have you, actually.
Yeah, I kind of had no choice, and my hair grows at the rate of a werewolf.
No offense to Aaron. I've just realized when he listens to this episode, he's going to be like, but I lost some of my hair. I'm going to be like, sorry, man.
Oh, his just grows out of his chin.
Oh, his does. Holy cow, what a glorious beard.
Dwarfy.
He's a dwarf. I love Aaron. But look, this is a film where I think if you know Japanese culture, watch it in the sub, because I think you'll get more out of it. Whereas if you're not that bothered about that, you're not that connected to Japanese culture and just want to see an interesting story, watch the dub. It will fit in perfectly. And that's not to say that, you should only watch it one or the other, but that's my recommendation.
I reckon both are to be enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. They're both great versions of it.
Go with your preference more than anything.
If you like dub or you like sub,
don't let us tell you what to do. Why are you even listening to us?
Yeah, how dare you?
Turn us off right now.
Go watch the film. So, Garden of Words came out in 2013. Comics Wave Films. Makoto Shinkai directed and wrote it. Runs for about 45 minutes. You can find it on Netflix and Amazon as well, on demand as well. And post-credit scene wraps up the story, so don't skip the ending.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
And that's where we'll wrap up for the episode, because we're We're real good at this.
It's a short movie. It's a short episode, you know.
Yeah. And it works well because, you know, it's a Valentine's Day. I don't think everyone will have time to listen to this today, which makes sense, doesn't it? Like, you're probably out doing other things.
Yeah.
Now, if you are new to the podcast, please hit the subscribe button, especially if we're on Spotify. We're really trying to build those numbers up. And also check out our YouTube channel as well, because we've got dedicated videos about, you know, basically we do deep dives into anime. The one that came out this week was a bit different. It was just 4 recommendations of anime romances which are wholesome, i.e. they don't have a lot of fan service in them. They've got generally good, positive messages about romance and human interactions.
I reckon it was a good video.
Yeah, I think it did all right.
We should do more of those. Just recommendation lists.
Yeah, recommendation lists. But we will be kind of reformatting that all shortly once I figure out how to, you know, do things unscripted. Because I can talk unscripted as demonstrated right now, but for some reason put that camera in front of me, despite being a journalist most of my life, I just kind of go, I need a script.
Wait, you don't have a script right now?
No.
Dude, my phone is a teleprompter.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I've even written this bit down, look.
Oh, wow.
Everything is predictable.
Everything is a lie. If you have enjoyed what you've heard, consider subscribing to our Patreon and supporting us. We've got packages from $1 up to, I think, like $10.
Yeah, we say a bunch of just weird stuff before the show. It's we go on tangents.
We do go on wild tangents. But look, we've got a couple of people supporting us on there, and if you can afford to support us, it'd be greatly appreciated. We also do have social media everywhere, so if you are on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, or even on Discord, come and join us. All the links are in the episode description. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all share the latest anime news, memes, and anything else that pops up. So worth checking out if you're looking for a little bit more interesting and vetted news, something I keep talking about because you know, being a journalist, I actually like people to vet their sources instead of everyone going, wow, Makoto Shinkai is doing this, that, or the other, or Ghibli is creating a brand new film. It will be his last.
Yeah, he's come out of retirement.
He's come out of retirement. So he's been out of retirement
7 years ago.
7 years. Like, So yeah, we vet our stuff. So, you know, the benefits of having someone who's actually been a broadcast journalist, I guess. I've talked about that a lot today. I don't know why. I need more coffee.
Yeah, I think you're just bragging.
I'm not allowed to talk about how I'm a journalist. You're not allowed to talk about how you studied film. That's the new rule.
I am now the journalist.
Yeah, I am now the filmmaker. Wait, no. Does that mean you're a ninja?
Yes.
Japan thinks all journalists are ninjas.
I'm standing right behind you as we speak.
Oh, no. Look, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks' time. And until next time,
watch some anime!